All right. I'm just checking to make sure we're up. Okay, and we're live. All right. Well, welcome to today's live. If we're not already connected and you're watching this, my name is Ramon Purifoy. Of course, someone calls immediately when I start this message. Give me 1 second. All right. Again, so sorry for that. My name is Ramon Purifoy, and welcome to Atlanta Community Insights, where we highlight people of influence, business owners, and different people, entrepreneurs throughout the Atlanta area that are doing big things that can help and share their information with you as the audience. So today I have the pleasure of speaking with a good friend of mine. I think it's been, almost 16, somewhere around 20 years since we last saw each other. She's from Atlanta. She came from Atlanta. She left. She went to New York. She conquered the world in New York. Said, okay, well, I've got to go take back what I've learned in New York, bring it back to Atlanta. And now she's here. She's an entrepreneur, an author, and she's done amazing things, an executive coach. And so today we're going to talk about a community that she has developed that I think will be beneficial to the people watching this video. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Charreah K. Jackson. I've learned that I have to say the K. So make sure we say that. And just take a moment, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about you.
That's so funny. You don't have to, but I appreciate you saying it. I'm Charreah, and Ramon and I go way back. I appreciate the very professional introduction, but we are high school classmates. Were we middle school classmates too? Did you go to Middle Grove? Where'd you go to Middle Grove?
Yep, I was in Middle Grove. That's where I jumped in.
We go way back, right? That's a lot of years. First of all, just thank you to you for having me. It feels good to be us. It feels good to be in the space. And the K stands for Katie, my middle name, which is my great grandmother, who I'm named for. And so I started adding the K once my grandmother passed away as a way to always being connected. And that's what I do in my company is I help people live their legendary life. You are living your legacy every day is your life. And especially now in the midst of a global pandemic, in the midst of quarantine and social distancing, it can be easy to start to believe the lie that somehow your life is on pause. And just because the world changed and life changed, summer wasn't canceled, 2020 isn't canceled. Every day is still your real life happening every time. And for me, my background professionally, I studied journalism. Shout out to Howard University. Howard people always got to tell you where they went to college. It's so annoying. I mean, come on, HU,
Yeah.
But Ramon and I were on the school newspaper together. We actually were talking before we came live. The Prowlers. Shout out to Southwest DeKalb High School class 2003. And so for me, it really just strengthened the desire for me. I always loved to read and write. And once I realized you could get paid to do that, I was like, well, I think I'm going to switch from studying law to studying journalism. So I spent 15 years as a professional journalist, 12 years living in New York, where I served as a senior editor for Essence and other publications. And at the time I worked at Essence, it was owned by Time Inc., which was at the time the largest magazine publisher in the world. So I got to get bylines in Fortune magazine and Time and Money magazine and People magazine and do videos and write for these legendary media brands. And in the midst of that, it was important for me to, as I told the stories of other people, I'm like, it's so important we tell our own stories. And so now, as Ramon mentioned, I moved back from New York to Atlanta last year, and love to my New York people, but I'm not mad that I didn't do that pandemic in New York. I mean, why am I saying that right now? I don't know. So if you're welcome, hit the share button. Don't be stingy. It's about to be a powerful conversation between me and Ramon. But as you mentioned, I lead an incredible community of leaders and our coaching platform, Shine Army. So you can go to shinearmy.com and learn more around what we do and get some of our sweet tea, which is freebies to help you your light. And then also you can join our Facebook group right here.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get right into it. So you mentioned Shine Army. Tell us a little bit more about what Shine Army is and how you got started with it.
Absolutely. So Shine Army, at Shine Army, we really see ourselves as a coaching platform to support leaders to own their light, share their story, and live their legendary life. And as you see, you hear me say legacy, 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 and story, 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 because the reason that history will remember you is based on if you share your story. And that is how you leave a legacy. And so after someone who, has a book that's out in libraries and countries I haven't been to. I haven't been to Australia yet, but my book is there in bookstores and in the library. And how does that happen for us to own our story? So after I had gone through and done the work of sharing my story, I had so many questions from other people and clients of mine who were like, well, help me tell my story. Help me, own my power. Like, I want to do what I saw you just do. And so I really took the time over the last year to create signature courses and support to help leaders better distill your signature message and then be able to pitch that. And how do you get the attention of producers, of book publishers, of editors to be able to see your story told on other platforms? Now, the other side of that is that's, some of our core work. But in order for you to have the confidence to share your story and the courage to be seen, you have to first own your own story and own your own power. So we also provide personal development to say, how do we help you become the person who is unafraid to share your story with the world and live a legacy and also make your mark? Because I feel we all, if you're on the planet right now, you were put here to make a mark, and you were put here because the world needs you to be here. And so how do you identify the impact you're meant to make, and then move anything that's in the way of you doing that thing?
Wow. Okay. So that's a lot. And one of the things I've realized as an entrepreneur is that sometimes you can be the hurdle in your own way with things like self-doubt. Even if your work is good and the things that you create are good, there's always sometimes, or at least for me, sometimes there's always a doubt in the back of my mind, like, is it good enough? And so for someone looking to get started, say, hey, Shine Army interests me. I want to move on to the next step. I want to do more than what I'm physically doing. How can I leave something for someone else or to make an impact? One, what type of person is a good fit for doing that? Is that something for everyone? Or is it just for like business owners or executives? Who would be a good fit for the Shine Army community?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, here we are, high school classmates right now on a live, right? So we haven't physically seen each other in over a decade, and yet here we are. What does that tell us? Technology. And so one of the things that this new normal is that everyone has equal access. The same way Oprah Winfrey had a show that she could go broadcast. The reality is you could have you a TV show just like Ramon right now and choose to broadcast, choose to share your story. And so to answer your question, I believe every person on the planet should capture and share their story. Now, and too often we've let too few people dictate what the narrative is. And so particularly, I don't know if you noticed, I'm a Black woman, Ramon's a Black man. And so we are from historically marginalized communities. And so it's even more important, if you are from a historically marginalized community, that you own your story. And anyone who's watching this right now, you're meant to tell your story, because I know that because of all the videos you could be watching. If you made it here in the middle of Ramon's video and we're talking about the power of shine and owning your light, this is the reminder that the universe wanted you to have, that it's time for you to step up and share your story. And so a lot of our clients, we work with a range of corporate professionals, we work with entrepreneurs, we work with executives, and we work across, but the people I mostly serve are people who are it's starting to irritate them, and they're feeling convicted that they aren't doing more to share their incredible knowledge. So most of our clients are experts in their subject matter. They're often practitioners of a certain trade or skill, and they're like, I figured something out, and I feel it is my responsibility to share that with someone else. I love in Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, she talks around part of becoming is the courage to own your story and to share your story. And so I think for many of us, part of you becoming and you making it this far in your life is that it is time. And it's exciting for me. I literally had a call yesterday from my aunt, and she's like, I've been writing poems in quarantine. Should I publish a book of poetry? How hard would it be? And I'm like, Auntie, like, Of course, there's the range, right? You could, spend thousands of dollars and hire a copy editor and hire an editor and hire a graphic designer to do this gorgeous book cover. Like you get to choose how much you want to invest. But the same thing in 24 hours, if you choose to, we go on Canva and create you a cover, you could have a book on Amazon. And so we're at a time, and it won't always be this equitable. You might not always have this access. I'm sure there were people a year ago who had opportunities and they said, I'll do it next summer. And look at 2020. And so we want to be urgent around the things that are important to us. And if it's important to you that your grandkids and their grandkids know your story and know about you, then take the time to capture your story and to share it. Now, for everyone, it won't be saying I want to do it at the highest level or I want to be on a TV show. It might not be that level, but every person on the planet should be capturing their story.
Okay. So I know I've run into that before, trying to figure out that feeling you talked about, like, hey, I should be doing more. There's more to me. I don't want to just be another number on the planet. I want to leave something for other people to where I feel like, I was put here and I made my worth and my time while I was here. What would be, I know everybody kind of has their own field, where they work in. What would you suggest is a good place for people to start, if they want to share? If they want to do more or be more, or to just kind of be seen with their business or a company or whatever they have, where would a person like that kind of start?
You start right where you are. You start right in the network you already have. You start right on your own Facebook page, right? And so I think too often, and even as an editor, I would have people pitch me. Oh, I want to write. Oh, I always dreamed of being covered by Essence. And I would say, well, okay, send me some of your writing. Okay, where have you been featured? Okay, share some content. And people were waiting on somebody else to say you have something to say, to speak up. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I see, is people aren't willing to learn and start. And so let the people know. And the other mistake we often make is we discount the people in our own circle. And so how often, even for me, like I'm in a space where I'm reintroducing myself to my network and letting people know, here's how I can serve. I'm an executive coach. I'm a communications consultant. Here's some of the clients I've been working with. So people who know me actually know what I do and how they can support and how they can work with me. But too often we don't allow ourselves to fully be seen by the people we know. And so even for us at Shine Army, we talk about being seen, being heard, being legendary. And so the reality is you might dream of being on CNN, but if you're not even willing to go on Instagram Live or Facebook Live or go on LinkedIn and record a video on your walk and upload it, then when you get to CNN, it might be a lot more of the and the stuttering, because you have not discerned your message and you have not practiced presenting. And so you want to start right where you are with the people you know. And I think people think that's simple, but the reality is most people never use the tools that are right there in your own hand, in your own phone. And there's so many examples of influencers, of comedians who just got started saying, here's what I want to talk about, and trusting that if there's a message on your heart to share, then there's somebody who's meant to hear it. There's somebody who wants to hear it. And so giving yourself the permission to share and open up is the first step. Because if you're not going to let your own friends see you, then are you really, are you going to be ready when the bigger doors open?
Yeah, and that makes so much sense. So I can tell, like, even it doesn't matter which group. A lot of times in your head, you can get your own ideas. So for anyone that that's watching, this is the first live that I've done like this with someone else. And I said, hey, well, I want to. So Charreah is the first guest that we've ever had. But I was like, hey, when I got in, I'm a real estate agent. When I got into real estate, I learned a lot. I dove into it. But I realized, once you become an expert in a particular field, the things that you feel like are basic weren't basic when you started. And so you have to build that comfort level. And one of the ideas I had was I want to share the information that I have with other people, because I feel like there's some basic knowledge about real estate, about buying a home or selling a home or investing or whatever, that everybody should know. It shouldn't really be a secret or guarded. And I was like, well, how can I do that? What's the easiest way and least expensive that's not going to cost me a lot of money to do that? And so I started, which I need to be more consistent on, but sharing that information, like you said, through Facebook, just popping on your phone and doing, hey, a 5-minute or 10-minute Facebook Live and say, hey, here's something that you need to know. Here's a quick tip. And so if you are an owner, like you said, hey, your aunt and her poetry, she could just come on and go through one of her poems that she creates. And we feel so guarded. It's like, well, what if it isn't good? Or what if somebody doesn't like it? Or, what if I don't sound good? Or what if all my equipment isn't perfect? And you realize as the person, when you watch videos, you never really think about that. All you care about is the content. And if it connects with you, it connects with you. You don't have to have the best camera or the best microphone or any of that stuff. As long as the content is good, you'll find the people that are right for that particular content. So that definitely makes sense. When someone's going through, say, the shine journey, um, is this like something that you do in a short period of time? Is it like a 6-week course? Is it like a year or a lifetime? What does that picture look like for the people that you've worked with?
Yeah. So the first answer is we all are on a forever journey of giving ourselves permission to be more of who we are and to own all of our gifts and to share our entire story. The highs, the lows, all of it, right? And so that's the first part. And then within our company and how we serve, we see I've distilled a process based on doing a lot of masterminds and talking to a lot of people and just being a professional journalist and interviewing a lot of people to really have an international impact. It's 6 seasons for sustainable success. And those 6 seasons really will take you through. And so we serve you across those seasons. So the first season, if you decide, hey, I want to impact the world with my message and I know I have something to say, the first season is really around being a seed. And that really means, will I ground myself in who I am and ground myself in my story? And so we have a training that supports you to do that work. And that program is called Inhale. And it really allows you to grab more of your power, your clarity, and then to fuel up on energy. Because what happens is none of us live in a vacuum or a bubble. And so everything you do impacts everything you do. There's no such thing as work and then life and then family and then church. Like all of who you are comes with you everywhere you go. And so I say that to say, so often people want to jump steps and like, oh, I want the $1 million business, or I want to publish my book, or I want to be respected and be an industry leader. I want awards in my industry. I want to be the top agent, top whatever that is in my category. In order for you to do that, you have to have all of your power. And so I always start in that place with my clients, and in any of our trainings, you will get access to that. So we have 2 signature trainings. So as I said, the first season is seed. The second season you go through to have an international impact is your serve season. Because in order for you to really have an incredible impact, you have to know your industry inside and out. You have to know the person you're called to serve. Who is that person? For you, you got to know, all about homeowners and what's going through their head when they're about to make that decision. And so when you are choosing to have an impact, you want to make sure you know their industry, your consumer, and who you're called to serve inside and out. So after you serve, you get to your scholar season. And that's when you distinguish your signature process. And so when you really decide, I want to be a leader in my industry, you want to have a way of doing it. You look at the 4 agreements, you look at the 5 love languages, right? These are people who had an expertise. They, look at Gary Chapman, the author of, he was just a psychologist counseling couples, and he owned his expertise in his scholar season to say, well, based on all this information that I've absorbed, it's about 5 love languages that most people communicate against. So what's your version of that? And so the 4th season is steward season after your scholar season. And this is when you decide, let me make money off of my insight. This is when you're doing more lives, when you start to sell content and products. And then 5 season is showtime season. This is when you start to pitch media, and this is when you start to get awards. And so the 6th season, I just went through them all. I didn't ask for it. I'll tell you my system, and I'll tell you why I created it. The 6th season is what is it? It's not. I said Showtime Sunrise. So the 6th season is when you scale. So this is when you're having a national partnership. This is when Ramon is doing a tour with Home Depot and talking with new homeowners about, here's how to make the most of your first year in your new house, or here's what you need to do to get your house ready to make the maximum profit. And so that's a lot of different things to be thinking around. So for us as a company, we serve you through those 6 seasons. And so I say that to say nothing is overnight. So we have clients who our Inhale program is self-study. You can access that right now and have access to the full curriculum. It's 8 sessions. I've had people who complete it in a week. I've had people who complete it in, 6 weeks or 3 months. And so I think you really have to be on wherever you are, and you're willing to go to a next level. There's a cost that you will pay to go to the next level. There's an investment of your time. There's an investment in resources. And so you want to always be asking myself, am I willing to pay the cost to enter the new room I want to go to? And so I'm someone who's completed over $100,000 in coaching, personal development, conferences, events. And I invested in myself so that when you see me, I'm someone who has something to say. And so we all want to be willing to invest in ourselves, because that then allows us to elevate, to go to new levels.
Okay, awesome. So, I know sometimes when we're going through those 6 seasons, we tend to want to skip to the one that we feel like I need this right now. I want the end goal before I go through. I want to get to the destination before I go through the journey to get there. What's a common challenge that you see of people going through this process, and maybe they end up taking a detour off the road to their destination before they get there? What are some challenges or pitfalls that you may have seen with people that you've coached with, that people should know about before they take that journey?
Absolutely. Well, I think you hit it. One of the biggest challenges is we don't give ourselves permission to go through seasons, right? So right now, seasons change. And so often we live in, and we're millennials, right? So we live in a culture of microwave success, of Netflix, of Uber. So we think because physical things and material comes fast, that we can do that with our own progress or our own business success. And so the biggest mistake is thinking that I can microwave my life. You can't. And you look at nature, there's nothing like, the tree has to go through fall. You got to go through the pruning. You got to go through all these process to have, look at a pregnancy, 9 months to get a baby here. So it's like, first things first is understanding where I am in my life and journey. And then what do I need to get me to that next chapter? And it is, even for the Shine Rise system, we call it 6 seasons for sustainable success. And the good thing is, if you do find yourself struggling, if you try to jump too many steps ahead, you can always go back. So even for me, with a book out, I was on season 5, where I was, doing TV on Steve Harvey show, on The Real, like doing all this content, but I still had to go back and build infrastructure in my business to be able to scale, to have more products to support people. And so I think, and also I would say, don't believe the hype. Don't believe what Instagram is telling you. Just because you didn't see the hard work doesn't mean people didn't put in hard work. There's no such thing as an overnight success. But I think a lot of times we just see people's highlight reels. We see the results, and we don't see all the times they went and watered that garden. We just see flowers, and we think, oh, I'm going to have me a flower tomorrow. And there has been yet to be, the best gardeners in the world tell you they don't put a seed in and they get a flower tomorrow. And so give yourself permission to be on that journey, as you said, so you're not trying to fast track everything and you miss all the lessons and who you become in the process of going from a seed to a beautiful blooming flower.
All right. Sorry. I'm sure you guys know, as we go through this journey, they don't always look the way we think they're going to look. So if you see me look off to the side or reach down, it's because I have my daughter right here, right next to me. So as we're tilling that soil and planting those seeds, sometimes it may not grow the way you think it will grow, but sometimes you find a harvest not where you thought you planted it. So, but as we go to the next go the journey, and we're trying to figure out, how does this end? What do I look like? What am I working towards? Is there a particular image of what that shine looks like for each person at the end of that journey, or is it different for each person?
Got it. Well, it's definitely, there's similarities and there's uniqueness for both. And I think definitely my definition of what does it mean to shine means to show up for yourself and to show up fully for your life. And so for that'll be unique to each of us. And then also to give yourself permission to dream bigger, and then to experience the sweetness of what you desire coming into reality. And, one of the things when you talk about shine and light, it also means dealing with your shadow. So if you're going to give yourself permission to be seen and own your voice and own what you came to this planet to say, you also have to own your own shadow. And so many of my biggest victories are the times when I've been willing to shine light on my own shadows. What are the dark parts of me? What are the saddest moments of my life? What are the stories I don't tell anybody? And giving myself permission to tell myself the story and then release myself from any judgment, right? To feel free in who you are. Because one of the things that I learned and why this was important for me is that I've had the opportunity to go behind a lot of curtains and go to a lot of big events and concerts and interview big name celebrities and, see the behind the scenes of real people, right? That's real, right? You got a daughter. She's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so I think, you want to, part of that of going behind the scenes, because I saw the people who distinctly were willing to own all of themselves and the people who thought that they could outrun their personal pain or outrun their trauma. And then they're trying to hide stuff in the closet. And at a big moment in their life, all of it comes out, right? You don't need to look far. Go to the shade room, go to any, gossip site. And you see that when we aren't courageous enough to own ourselves and own our voice, then we can't outrun our own stuff. And so that stuff will catch up with us if we don't give ourselves permission to really embrace our entire journey, not just the highlight reel.
Okay, so part of that journey is having the courage to deal with those things you probably tucked away or put in the closet and say, hey, let me just put this over here, move on. I'll come back to it if I have to. But sometimes those things are big enough that you have to deal with it at some point throughout that journey to get to free yourself to get to where you want to be.
Absolutely.
Whether that's mentally or emotionally or whatever the case may be. All right. Well, I want to get to a couple. I know we've been on for about 25 minutes. I want to get to a few fun things. What's a fun fact about you, Charreah?
First of all, I'm fun. So you want nerdy fun or like, what's a fun fact about me? Well, what's surprising about me? I mean, I'm a goofball. I can be very nerdy. But I love to dance. I tap dance and did ballet as a kid, and then now in adulthood, I bought me some new tap dance shoes. And so I'm really excited to be tapping again. I'm an amateur burlesque dancer. My name is Sweet Souffle. So I'm a Baptist minister, and so I'm an amalgamation of a lot of things. They're kind of like, wait, what? You said all that at the same time? Yep.
I can tell you, I would have never guessed it.
Right.
So okay, awesome. What is one thing, I guess, that you're originally from here? You've been here quite a while. You're familiar with Atlanta. What is one thing that either a place or restaurant or something that you do that you love about Atlanta that you think people don't know about but they should know about?
I mean, Atlanta is such an amazing city. Let me think. What do I love? I mean, it's so much. So one thing I discovered, and I'm still looking, so you might have a recommendation. So I mean, obviously Atlanta has one of the busiest and largest airports in the world. And so one time I was going to visit pick up a cousin from the airport, and her flight was delayed. So I ended up sitting at the little side area, and it was just so fun to watch the planes. But one thing I want to find is like a cool place to watch planes. Even if I think it's a Sheraton, or there's a hotel over there, a Hilton, that if you get a right room, you can like see the planes take off and land. And one thing I noticed one day I was there visiting a friend, and like it was cool to watch a plane land and take off, and like the similar speeds. For a second they're like the same speed, and then one slowing down and one speeding up. I don't know, that's nerdy, but my favorite restaurant, I love Tassili's Raw. I'm on the middle of a vegan fast now. So Tassili's Raw is a great vegan spot in the West End. I also just recently visited Arabia Mountain. Atlanta has so many cool parks and the nature trail. Me and my dad go walking on the nature trail over. That's probably the coolest thing. Okay, I know I'm talking. I'm like, what's cool?
It's fine.
But me and my dad go walking on the nature trail in Decatur. He's near Panola. We go over there near Panola. But we were walking that trail. It's got miles of a nice trail. Like, that's really dope that you can walk a really nice trail. But we were walking in the Panola, near Panola Road area. And we walked up on this house, and it's like it's like a former plantation. They used to, it's from the 1800s. There were enslaved people who lived there, and it's still like a real house. But you can go on a walking trail and like end up at a plantation. I was like, this is, they have like little stories about it. It's the lion's house, the farmhouse. But when I make my first $1 million, I'm going back to walk that walking trail, and I'm gonna go by there and let the ancestors know we out here.
Wow. Okay. So is it like a museum, or is it an actual person's house? They live there, or?
No, nobody lives there. It's like, but it's crazy because you could just be walking, but it's like a you can't go inside, but they have little placards that tell you about the house. And like back then, there's a sink outside. You should go see it, particularly as a real estate agent. It's like they tell you back then, and it's crazy that your mind is like, whoa. But they're like, back then in slavery, sometimes they put the sink outside so that the Black workers who wasn't getting paid, the enslaved people who didn't get paid, they didn't have to go in the house. But I was like, that's crazy. You'll let somebody cook your food, but you don't let them go in your house. Like, okay. But they still have some of the like machinery, the yard, the farming machinery from like the early 1900s to 1800s. So it's really like a relic of the past that is still up, and you can visit it.
It's being preserved.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, before we get off, I appreciate having this conversation and coming on. I know you're quite busy with everything that's going on. What is a way that people can connect with you and find out more about Shine Army, about Inhale?
Yep.
How would they do that?
Yep. So you can go to shinearmy.com. And then for Inhale, we actually have a free live training this Sunday. And so if you go to iwillinhale.com, if you're ready to take a deep breath, I know 2020 has been a lot for a lot of people. And so if you're feeling like I'm not feeling as energetic, I'm not feeling as focused, and you want to still get what you came in this year to get, go to iwillinhale.com. You can sign up for our free training. And then, you can find me at Charreah. You can find me here. And one thing I do want to say, and I think it's important to mention before we wrap, is the importance of like connecting with your community, right? So I'm here. I'm so honored to be the first guest on Ramon's great new live series. And we went to high school together. And so often, and especially now, take the time to reach out to your network. And so many of your next opportunities, so many of your biggest blessings, it might be a new client, it might be a new boo, it might be a new house, will come through you being engaged in the people in your life and believing that everybody you ever meet is assigned to you. So lean into your network, lean into your squad, and of course, come on over to the Shine Army.
Awesome. Well, just to kind of add to that, the reason I got Charreah is I just posted, for those that are trying to figure out how do I do this, how do I take the first step, how do I get out of my comfort zone? I simply posted a Facebook message on my personal page to say, hey, if you're a business owner local to Atlanta, hey, let me know. I'm trying to work on something to help promote you guys. And Charreah was one of the few people that responded, and that's how we got here today. So it doesn't really take anything that's overly complicated. It doesn't have to be this great big production. It could just be a simple question. And you'll learn through life that, one of the reasons that people become successful is by who they connect with. And after, almost 20 years, we're now connected by a simple Facebook post. So if you're looking for what to do next, I highly recommend you go check out Shine Army. You go check out the Inhale website and, do it. Take a dive, take a leap of faith, trust the journey. I know a lot of people are probably working from home now, but sometimes, especially in situations like this pandemic, there's a lot of things that come out of it that help people propel themselves to the next level. So thank you, Charreah. Like she said, one of the things she didn't mention, or she mentioned a little bit, but we didn't talk about, was she's, an author. So if you haven't checked out her book, Boss Bride, the powerful women's playbook for love and success, go ahead and grab that. Even if you're a male, you may want to check it out. It might have some secrets for you that you can take and use it on your own. So don't think it's only for one person. But again, thank you, Charreah. I appreciate you coming on here, and we'll check you guys out next time. Take care.